So this morning, rather than give a Dharma talk, I really just want to primarily read some of Thay's poems. Even though Thay is known so much, obviously, in the West as this great towering Buddhist figure and master, able to turn the light of his wisdom. He's got 100 different books published, and that's only the ones that have been translated or whatever. I mean, anywhere he turned his wisdom mind, his compassionate mind, it lit up. But in Vietnam, back in the 60s, 70s, even though he was a rising, he wasn't really a rising star, because in some a lot of areas of Vietnamese Buddhist highly controversial. But at a common level, he was really known as a great poet. And many of his poems were put into songs that people would sing. And actually, my earliest contact with him back in the early 70s was receiving, this is historical data, on mimeograph sheets. Some of you may not even know what a mimeograph is, of his poems. And in those days, what he was really most known for was his relationship to the war and what was going on in society. So, and again, even though, you'll see, there is relevant today, even though the context may be different, the sentiment is probably as important, if not more so. So I'm just going to read poetry and just listen. And we can, there's not much to share. As I said earlier, today is really a day to honor him. And he was a poet. Even though he ended up, the leader of quite a large organization. And even though he's, well known by millions and millions and millions all over the world and in many different, his heart, he had the heart of a poet. And he saw things in that poetical way. And he lived life as a poet. His presence to reality was always also informed by colors and sounds and nature and just, the beingness of life. So this is 1964. It's called Message. Life has left her footprints on my forehead, but I have become a child morning. The smile, seen through leaves and flowers, is back to smooth away the wrinkles as the rains wipe away footprints on the beach. Again, a cycle of birth and death. I walk on thorns, but firmly as among flowers. I keep my head high. Rhymes bloom among the sounds of bombs and mortars. The tears I shed yesterday have become rain. I feel calm, hear sound on the thatched roof. Childhood, my birthland, is calling me, and the rains melt my despair. I am still here alive, able to smile quietly. Oh, sweet fruit brought forth by the tree of suffering. Carry the dead body of my brother, I grow across the rice field in the darkness. Earth will keep you tight within her arms, my dear, so that tomorrow you will be reborn as flowers. Those flowers smiling quietly in the morning field. This moment you weep no more, my dear. We have gone through too deep a night. This morning I kneeled down on the grass when I notice your presence. Flowers that carry the marvelous smile of ineffability speak to me in silence. The message of understanding has become quintessential Thay, touching suffering deeply, very alive to all the suffering that's going around him, and yet able always to refresh himself, to nourish himself. Through nature, the natural world, always very healing to him, but also at the end of the day, always taking refuge in the path of love and understanding. This one I remember well because there was a woman in the early days of Plum Village in America, and her name was Rose. She turned this into a song that we used to sing a lot. It's very simple. It's called For Warmth. I hold my face in my two hands. No, I am not crying. I hold my face in my two hands to keep the loneliness warm. Two hands protecting, two hands nourishing, two hands preventing my soul from leaving me in anger. We can all learn from this. Not easy for him those days. Everything he created being attacked. Students and disciples being attacked, murdered. His own poems and teachings being distorted and being attacked by both sides. Right? How natural to be angry, right? And yet, he holds his hands to nourish himself in his aloneness, to prevent soul from leaving me in anger. We can all, if we think about the things that often get us angry, this is very humbling. There's a poem, again, he was the founder, head, spiritual leader of the School of Social Service, really just primarily a Buddhist social service organization that really brought a lot of Buddhist youth college students into doing service. During the war, nobody was taking care of the orphans, nobody was taking care of the villagers, nobody was rebuilding after the destruction. Both sides were really at war. So he founded this School of Youth for Social Service, but there was a time there where they were being murdered. Recommendation, until he wrote this for them. Promise me this day, promise me now, while the sun overhead, exactly at the zenith, promise me, even as they strike you down with a mountain of hatred and violence, even as they step on you and crush you like a worm, even as they dismember you and disembowel you. Remember, brother, remember, sister, remember, man is not our enemy. It's a very famous line of his. Man is not our enemy. The only thing worth is compassion. Invincible, limitless, unconditional. Hatred will never let you face the beast in man. One day, when you face this beast alone, with your courage intact, your eyes kind, even if no one sees them, out of your smile will bloom a flower, and those who love you will behold you across 10,000 worlds of birth and dying. Alone again, I will go on with bent head, knowing that love has become eternal. On the long, rough road, the sun and the moon continue to shine. And you can see he wrote this to his students to prepare them, that they could be facing, as a number of them did, being violence being done against them, being tortured, being killed. This was a poem to prepare them in nonviolence. Very, very powerful. This poem is called Contemplation. Since the moon is full tonight, let's call on the stars in prayer. The power of concentration, seen through the bright, one-pointed mind, is shaking the universe. All living beings are present tonight to witness the ocean of fear flooding the earth. Upon the sound of the midnight bell, everyone in the 10 direction joins hands and enters the meditation on Mahakaruna, great compassion. It springs from the heart and is pure, refreshed water, healing the wounds of life. From the highest peak of Mind Mountain, the blessed water streams down, penetrating rice fields and orange groves. The poisonous snake drinks a drop of this nectar from the tip of a blade of grass, and the poison on its tongue vanishes. Mara's arrows are transformed into fragrant flowers. The wondrous action of the healing water, a mysterious transformation. A child now holds a snake in her innocent arms. Leaves are still green in the ancient garden. The shimmering sunlight smiles on the snow, and the sacred spring still flows toward the east. On Avalokita's willow branch, Avalokita is the Bodhisattva of compassion, on Avalokita's willow branch, or in my heart, the healing water is the same. Tonight, all weapons fall at our feet and turn to dust. One flower, two flowers, millions of little flowers appear in the green fields. The gate of deliverance opens with a smile on the lips of my innocent child. Just let me drink a little tea. So please, it's poetry, you don't have to think a lot, you just let it enter you. The images, the feeling. We all have that innocent child still alive in us, our unborn mind, our original nature. The thing about Thich Nhat Hanh, he never lost that. It was always alive to him. It helped balance his experience in the adult world. Please reflect for a moment. Do we stay in touch with our own unborn original nature? That unformed nature, pure nature that we came into this world with. Before we had language, before we had experience, when mind and heart were pure. Still here. Our original nature, our pure nature, our Buddha nature, our original mind, all kinds of words. But it's, at the deepest level, this is what the practice is about. This is the coming home that Thay always talks about. This is where we want to arrive. The line Mara's arrows are transformed into fragrant flowers is a very famous image from the Buddhist tradition. You know, when the Buddha was sitting under the Bodhi tree and had made the vow, he wasn't going to move until he really awoke, surrendered to his true nature, resolved all his doubts. It was not smooth sailing. Mara, which is the representation of delusion, of ignorance, appeared in many different forms to get him off his. And one of the things, you know, Mara tried seduction, tried bribery. I mean, tried all kinds of things. Big one was doubt. But the other thing is demonic forces to start coming from all sides, shooting arrows, violence, shooting arrows. Right? Anger at the Buddha, Shakyamuni. And it said, the Buddha sitting in that pure aura of awareness and compassion. So he saw all these demonic forces of the mind, the angers and the fears and the hatreds, all of that. And what was his response? Compassion. Compassion. And so therefore the analogy, and there are beautiful, if you see paintings, you see the arrows, the Buddha surrounded, or at that time Siddhartha, surrounded by all these demonic forces with all their bows and arrows, shooting arrows at him. And as they get into his aura, they become good teaching for us. And this one you've probably all heard. It's really probably his most famous poem, but it is so. It speaks right to the heart of what our practice is about. So let me read it. Well, please call me by my true names. Don't say that I will depart tomorrow. Even today, I am still arriving. Look deeply. Every second I am arriving to be a bud on a spring branch, to be a tiny bird with still fragile wings, learning to sing a new nest, to be a caterpillar in the heart of a flower, to be a jewel hiding itself in a stone. I still arrive in order to laugh and to cry, to fear and to hope. The rhythm of my heart is the birth and death of all that is alive. I am a mayfly, metamorphosizing on the surface of the river. And I am the bird that swoops down to swallow the mayfly. I am a frog swimming happily in a clear pond of water, and I am the grass snake that silently feeds itself on the frog. I am the child in Uganda, all skin and bones, legs as thin bamboo sticks. And I am the arms merchant selling deadly weapons to Uganda. I am the 12-year-old girl, refugee on a small boat, who throws herself into the ocean, being raped by a sea pirate. And I am the pirate, my heart not yet capable of seeing and loving. I am a member of the Politburo with plenty of power in my hands. And I am the man who has to pay his quote-unquote debt of blood to my people dying slowly in a forced labor camp. My joy is like spring, so warm it makes flowers bloom all over the earth. My pain is like a river of tears, so vast it fills the four oceans. Please call me by my true names, so that I can hear all my cries and laughter at once, so I can see that my joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true names so I can wake up and the door of my heart could be left open, the door of compassion. So this is a very powerful, not just a poem, but a teaching. And it really speaks to all of us, doesn't it? It is an expression of what in Buddhism is called non-duality, non-separation, non-identification. It's the mind that embraces all of samsara, the world of birth and death. It is the mind that sees everything's rising according to causes and conditions. This is because of that. That is because of this. It is the mind of understanding, and therefore it is the mind of compassion. And again, this is like especially with the 12-year-old girl, I mean, Thay and Sister Fung, they went to the South China Sea, and they very much were involved, doing their best to help the boat people and to rescue them, and of course heard their stories. So these are real stories. He had to meditate deeply because, of course, when our heart naturally goes out to the victims. That is natural, right? And yet Thay said, but, when in my imagination, I understand the causes and conditions of that sea pirate from Thailand and could really see how they grew up and their causes and conditions and their culture and, what the cause and conditions that brought them to be pirates and to prey upon people. And just the way their heart was and all that, he says, it was only from that deep meditation, willing to let go of all one's ideas about how things should be and who's right and who's wrong and who's the perpetrator and who's the victim. Really see, in the deepest sense, we're all perpetrators and victims. This is the world we participate in, right? We are the mayfly, and we are the snake that eats the mayfly. That's hard for us to get our heads around, isn't it? Because we don't want to acknowledge that. We don't want to acknowledge those parts within ourselves. We don't want to acknowledge that we have those seeds in us, And if those negative seeds were watered, and perhaps have been watered, we would be just like them. Right? You see, that takes a big mind, a mind that's let go of all their identifications and preconceptions, to really acknowledge, as Thay taught over and over again, we all have seeds. In the storehouse consciousness, there are positive seeds and negative seeds. And based on the causes and conditions of our life, those that were watered, many of us might have been fortunate that we had many positive seeds watered more than the negative ones. But many people have not had, that's not been their experience. For many people, it's their afflictive seeds or negative seeds that life has watered. So therefore, they've grown. There's no, in the world of cause and effect, in the world of the storehouse consciousness, in the world of seeds, there's no good or bad, is there? Just like when, the sun shines and the rain comes down, it nurtures everything, doesn't it? It nurtures the flowers and it nurtures the weeds. The earth supports, supports what? It supports all those sweet, innocent animals, the bunny rabbits of the world and the gazelles, right? It also supports and nurtures the lions, tigers, right? Who also are just being themselves, just being their causes and conditions. So this is a very deep poem, a very deep teaching. Please call me by my true name. That's a koan. What is my true name? We all have names, but we were given those names. Those are our true names. Our parents gave us those names. Right? And even how they chose our name was probably a very narrow spectrum. And even these other labels, man, woman, these are just names. Buddhist path is about finding what is my true name. Who am I, really? Deeper than all the conditioning, deeper than all the labels. So again, this is a very deep poem. And again, each of us can use this poem in terms of our own life to see through the way we divide up the world. The way that we divide up right now the people in our life, those we like and those we don't like, and those we think are good and those we think are bad, and the way we think life should be and the way it is, and we're angry about that, and we don't want to accept, that's the world of duality. It's the world of separation. It's the world where we break up. But what Thay is presenting to us in this very deep poem is really a much deeper view of what's really going on in this life. And it gives us a path out. A path out of what? A path out of victimization? A path out of blame? A path out of anger and disappointment and bitterness and fear. You see, it's all those things that we get caught in. This is the path out. It's the path of understanding. And out of that, he says, when call me by truth, I can hear all my cries and laughter at once. Joy and pain are one. Please call me by my true name so I can wake up and the door of my heart can be left open. Many people what? Ooh, gotta be very protective of my heart, don't we? Gotta be very careful. Only open it a little bit. Only open it to certain people or under certain circumstances. Otherwise, I keep a close rein on my heart. But he's saying, once you know your true name, which also means you know the true name of everything and everyone, then I can be awake to that. And the door of my heart can be left open. So much work, isn't it? Opening and closing doors all day. Opening and closing the doors of our hearts. How much easier just to leave it open. Let's let let whatever comes, whoever comes, come. Let them come and go. Leave the front door open, leave the back door open. Just let everything come and go. Just present, aware, present, open, understanding, compassionate, loving. Very, very simple way to live. But to many people, that seems hard, doesn't it? And yet again, as I've said many times, we have it backwards. The way we do it is the hard way. This way is easy, keeping the door open. What could be easier than that? Here's a poem called Mind. The stars and moon still look beautiful on clear nights. The willow bay is still green. The thuya trees, waving in the breeze, are still gracious. Although we miss our homeland, so this is probably a poem that he wrote when he's in exile in France. Although with homeland, the plum blossoms on the hill still offer us hospitality. This is probably Plum Village when he wrote this. The luxurious vegetation brings more vitality to the hills and strength to the moon. The squash plants have begun to put forth flowers, and children are playing in the sunshine in the front yard. We make books and sell them through the mail. This could be either Plum Village or it could be Patat Douce, his smaller community, the sweet potato before then. We make books and sell them through the mail. Although we live simply, each day of our life is like a festival. The news from the land is not encouraging. The temples do not have permission to ring their bells. Many children are left without their parents. Many people are in re-education camps. Writers and artists remain in dead silence. So many boat people, including children, perish in the Gulf of Siam. Love tries hard to express itself. What can we do? Our hands are available. We are ready. And we do. The answer will certainly come if we know how to remain faithful and calm in the midst of turbulence. The sunshine still calls attention to the hill above. The cherry blossoms are still lovely. Moon and stars still beautiful on clear nights. Willow still green. And the thuya still waves graciously to us. Again, very powerful and very good guidance. Reminds me of his great metaphor when he turned the Western axiom, don't just stand there, do something. We all grew up with that one. And he said, and he turned it around and went, no, just don't do something, stand there. and it's like we are so attuned, like, something happens, we react. Got to do something. And his mind, stop. You're always doing something, can just be mucking it up, right? First, you need to stand there. He also used the example, with the boat people when they were under attack or whatever. And he says, when everybody is panicking, when everybody is scared, when everybody is overtaken with emotionality, if there is one person in the boat, one person in the boat who stayed calm and clear, right, they can be a refuge to everybody else in the boat. But if there's nobody, if everybody's in a panic, if everybody's fearful, if everybody's in reactivity, nothing good's going to come out of that. And so I think this is a very powerful poem because he's obviously aware. He's been very active for years and years, but now he's in Plum Village, right? In southern France, everything is quite beautiful. And yet, all the news he's getting from his homeland is only bad, right? And he says, love tries to express itself, what can I do? What can I do? And if we're not careful, we'll go, well, I have to do something, and as if the doing something is meaningful. Our hands are available. We are ready. What can we do? The answer will certainly come. Be patient. Be present. Be aware. When the time is right, you will know what to do. And your action will be meaningful. The answer will certainly come if we know how to remain faithful and calm in the midst of turbulence. This is great advice for all of us. People stress, right? Busy, stress. I got to do something about my stress. We do this and we do that. Go to the spa for got to do something, right? Got to go get a vacation. Got to start meditating 10 minutes a day. Usually we get very busy. Nothing, no, I just need to find that place of stability and calmness in my life. And from that place, where I can kind of look at my life, I can look at life more objectively and more clearly, then choices and decisions I make about how to act personally, societally, will probably be much more meaningful. And sometimes it's very hard for people, Sometimes there's nothing to do, right? Which is what he's saying. At that point, he's in Vietnam and they were doing underground things, actually. But, overtly, there wasn't anything to do. A new regime had come in, they had total control, and there was really nothing you could do. So what did he do? He noticed the plum blossoms. He noticed the breeze in the tree. Children are playing, you see? This is always very important. This was always his key teaching. He would say, it is for those who are unhappy we need to be happy. Right? It is for those who are suffering that we have to end our own personal suffering. You know what I mean? We have to show the way. We can't wait. Right? Peace is every step. He would say, there's no way to peace. Peace is the way. There's no way to happiness. Happiness is the way to happiness. Very powerful teaching. And good medicine for all of us. Remember, here's a very short one called Journey. Here are words written down and cloud formations. Tomorrow, I'll be gone. Very true. Let me read this. Later on, we'll listen to music in honor of Thay's passing by people in Plum Village. But it's really speaks to his death. The poem is called Oneness. The moment I die, I will try to come back to you as quickly as possible. I promise it will not take long. Isn't it true? I am already with you as I die each moment. I come back to you in every moment. Just look, feel my presence. If you want to cry, please cry. And know that I will cry with you. The tears you shed will heal us both. Your tears are mine. The earth I tread this morning transcends history. Spring and winter are both present in the moment. The young leaf and the dead leaf are really one. My feet touch deathlessness, and my feet are yours. Walk with me now. Let us enter the dimension of oneness and see the cherry tree blossom in winter. Why should we talk about death? I don't need to die to be back with you. This is sort of like his teaching about death. Anytime we want to feel Thay's presence, we can feel it, can't we? We don't have to wait to see his body. Right? He's present in his teachings, he's present in all of us who are his continuation. And every time we do the practice, he is present. There never was anything called Thay. That was, again, our illusion. That we thought there was a permanent, solid thing called Thay. If we think there is, then when it disappears, then we think we've lost something. But if we always saw that we inter-are, his being, our being, my being, thoughts, feelings, perceptions, memories, experience, just interpenetrating, flowing into each other, just this open matrix of experience. He's still participating in it, isn't he? Here we are. We're pretending he died. Why should we talk about death? I don't need to die to be back with you. Very important teaching. Let us enter the dimension of oneness. My feet touch deathlessness. I mean, this is, the heart of his meditative teaching. The absolute, the deathless is available to us. How? When we let go of all our thoughts, all our identifications, and just enter totally the moment, the experience, purely, freshly, openly. Right? That's how we step into this absolute, so-called absolute world. It's always available to us. So wonderful, so many people think it's way out there. Realization, liberation is way out there. But he taught, no, it's always available to us right now. You just have to let go. Let me just read, it's a short one. It's called Interrelationship. Very key. Very simple. You are me, and I am you. Forgive me for laughing. I remember he wrote this in reaction. There used to be a guy named Fritz Perls, maybe some of you older, and there was a thing you'd always see everywhere, which is I am me, and you are you, and right, thing like that. You remember it used to be, I am me, and you are you, and sort of like we're individuals, and if we should meet on life's journey, how full or something like that. So Thay wrote this in reaction to that. This I am me, and you are you. He says, you are me, and I am you. Isn't it obvious that we are? You cultivate the flower in yourself so that I will be beautiful. I transform the garbage in myself so that you will not have to suffer. I support you. You support me. I am in this world to offer you peace. You are in this world to bring me joy. So I'm going to read it again. I mean, this is, if you want a little mantra or a thing to get yourself ready for the day, this could be it. You are me, and I am you. Isn't it obvious that we are? You cultivate the flower in yourself so that I will be beautiful. I transform the garbage in myself so that you will not have to suffer. I support you, you support me. I'm in this world to offer peace. You are in this world to bring me joy. And again, as a community, as community mindfulness, as a Dharma community, I mean, what better ethos for us to follow than this one and how we relate. So that's a little bit of Thay's poem. It's probably been reissued. Call Me by My True Name. Copyright 1993. But translated from the Vietnamese. Anyhow, Call Me by My True Names. Thay at heart was a poet. You see, I mean, all his teachings, and books and books and books and books and books and books and books. See how they're all expressed so beautifully in his poems. Good book to have nearby.